Yo, 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 what is going on, IK Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today we are back again for some more high quality IK action. Today, we are going to be giving you an update and touching on a little bit more of what our hopeful expectations are going to be for the upcoming, whenever it will be, kind of Discord meeting, or I should say just meeting in general with the developers, I guess developer meeting for the community, any reps, and then the devs themselves, members from the department. I know we gave you guys the last update where we said that we had heard back there is going to be members from a couple different departments that are planning to show up for the meeting. We don't know 100% yet when it will be, even though there was kind of a window date range that they did provide, but nothing beyond that at this time. So we're going to talk about a few things, some new things that have been posted as well, and then I'm going to give you my, like I said, hopeful expectations here on what I would love to see out of the meeting, and also formatting that I think is going to be really important. So before we start, as always, make sure if you guys enjoyed the content, sub, like, ring the notification bell, and if you want to join our conversation, hit up our Discord. You can find that in the description and pinned comment down below. Okay, so the big thing here is something that was recently, I guess, I don't know if I say announced, but was recently added on the Infinity Kingdom official Discord, and we're going to show that here now. So here under the Events tab, you can see where they've added a roundtable discussion recruitment channel. Now this channel is, again, you can see here it was just added, right? If I click here, you can see yesterday, this was Wednesday, March 16th at least 4 a.m. my time. It has been now almost 36 hours, exactly 35 hours, or pretty close to it, since this was posted. And you can see here it says, posted by Pio, shout out to Pio. IK game designers are seeking for lords to have a roundtable discussion. We believe that there will spark amongst lords and designers, or will be a spark. Let's create the future of IK together. There's a registration link. The roundtable discussion will be held in Discord through a group type writing way. Stay tuned with us. Okay, so before we even get to the form, before we get to kind of my general thoughts, like a new announcement that we hadn't heard yet is, even though we knew that it was going to be more text-based and kind of type-based for the conversation, we weren't sure if they were just going to set up a separate server. Were they going to set up something maybe on this Discord, right? And some of those things we don't really know yet, but it at least gives us an indication. One, it is confirmed that it's going to be held on Discord, right? Who knows if it's going to be on this server, if it's going to be on maybe the CC PO server, maybe a separate server. And it's going to be mainly, like they said, group typewriting. So the challenge, I want to say just as a brief moment, because I'm going to expand on this later, is one of the things I hope that the meeting does not become is kind of a battle royale free-for-all, just wall of text, right? Where it's just kind of too many chefs in the kitchen type of a scenario. And I'm going to dive into some suggestions and ideas that I have sent this to a few people to collaborate on. And I know we're just waiting to hear back as well on doing some sends. And I might just put something forward as well when I have a moment. Though, let's now briefly just kind of look at the form, right? So let's just look at how the form is set up. And you can see here that it's a Google form, right? It says kind of choose your language. We'll go next. We chose. Now we'll go to the next screen, right? This is kind of the last screen here where it says submit. So it asks you, enter in your game ID. It says enter your Discord. Which area are you living in now, right? They kind of just mainly go for the continents. When did you start playing Infinity Kingdom, or which server did you start with? Right, are you an R6, an R5, or other? How much time do you usually spend playing Infinity Kingdom every day? And then lastly, right, why do you want to participate in the discussion? So I think it's good that they at least gave a kind of large paragraph or paragraph type field here to write a response out in, right, to give a reason why. I think when you're doing something, like this, and you are giving players an opportunity to submit a form, this is a great way to get other types of feedback and just data that maybe you can't collect from a player in game, right? Or from someone that just signs up. So I think trying to think about, again, if there were any ways to do that. And I think something like an example, right? Are you an R6, R5, right? That's an example of a question, right? Except you could say, what's your position in game, right? Or what's the highest position you've had, or what's your current position? And you could say R6, R5 member, something like that. I think that's a great way to do it, right? I think here it probably would have been better to give some wider windows. I think maybe something, again, remember when you're filling out the forms, you can add multiple things, right? There's plenty of people here that play 4 or 5 hours a day. I would say there's a decent amount of people that even play more than that, right? 10 to 12 hours a day. So again, I think having more options here would have been good as well, just to present more, and they can still add these in, right? I've done Google Forms myself. You can edit these on the fly. Now, it says on here, and this is the other kicker, right? It says notifications will be sent by March 20th at the latest. This means that we will most likely find out who is going to be included in the meeting, the dev meeting, by March 20th, right? That's in 3 days. That means we're going to find out on Sunday, March 20th at some time there, which again could be the earliest, where people will be notified on who's going to be included, right? So what I will say here is one, we got a confirmation on kind of what the format's on what the medium is going to be for where the discussion is going to happen. And then we also got another big indication on when we're going to be finding out, which I think is obviously huge, right? Because it at least lets people know publicly this is what's going to happen. Would have been great if they just said that on the Discord channel too as well. I think kind of giving that information out doesn't really kind of tell you anything or not. You could just say at the earliest, something to that effect. Now, the last thing I'm going to comment on is what I really hope the potential format for this could be. And like I was talking about before, I do feel that it is very important where we have an understanding that, I don't know if I say an understanding, but just a realistic expectation of how a conversation can go. Most of the time, when you are, bringing ambassadors or advisors, very similarly to how you might run a company, you might have a rep per department, someone that kind of speaks at that board meeting, right? And they are a representation of all these people that feel a certain type of way about a topic or an area or a field of the game. And so, I think there's a great way to go about this where you can still, because again, the challenge, like we said before, is I really hope it isn't one of those things where, they ask a question, they give us some information, or whenever they're asking for feedback, it's just a free-for-all. Everyone's just kind of typing and going at it. Now, that doesn't mean that cannot happen, right? I think there's just appropriate times on when it should, if you're just going to ask for a lot of general feedback. Now, the way I kind of envision it is something simple and straightforward, where you have kind of a dedicated rep per field of conversation or per topic of conversation. An example of this would be to say, well, okay, let's talk about the kingdom in Norheim and management, kind of player activity, retention, right? That's a field I would love to be a rep in. I think if we were to do something and talk about, like spending and bundles, and maybe spending-based events, right? I would probably advise someone like Jetstar, someone else who spends a lot, that just, again, participates in all of these different types of spending events or purchases a lot of bundles, right? Because they'll be able to give a lot of great insight there. I'd love to find someone who maybe plays every single event, right? If you're someone who plays every event on the home kingdom, right? And I'm talking not necessarily KVK, that's a separate topic, but I think if you participate in every event that happens on the home kingdom, right? I'd love, because even I don't participate in every single event. I try to do as much as I can, but I even think something like that has a lot of value and a lot of worth. And then I think, and then again, I think topics, for example, such as KVK and feedback, that is something that, that topic, sure, maybe you'll have a rep there who has played in the KVK so far. Maybe you have a couple reps, but even something like that I think is okay if you just want to have, again, kind of take the group or the pool-wide feedback for something like that. And then for each of the topics that come up, even though you have a rep there, you can still go to your pool of people and say, hey, is there anything else that someone wants to ask? Is there anything else that somebody wants to add or contribute? That way, even though you have the rep who's leading that specific topical conversation, you will have a moment where you can still get some feedback from the group or say, yeah, hey, I'd love to ask this. Or maybe they say, hey, we'll open this up now, or if someone wants to add something else, right, we'll allow a few minutes or something to do that. Because you want to be cognizant and aware of the time. How long are we really going to have? 2, 3, 4 hours, an hour? Who knows? So the important part here is to make the most out of the meeting and out of the time that we're given, right? Because sure, we don't know if we're going to have an opportunity for another meeting, right? Cool. Maybe it'd be awesome if we turn this into once a month or once every quarter, once every 2 or 3 months. That would be awesome, right? Or maybe they do it once every 6 months. Who knows? But the assumption is that this is like a one-time thing. There's no guarantee it's going to happen again. And because of that, I think it's really important that we, again, are very aware and conscious of how much time we have and how to make the most of that time. Because we also have to remember that a lot of people who filled out the petition, right, because they feel a similar way about multiple topics, are also counting, I hope, on people like myself, on people like Lily, on others, right, who were there for that. Jez is included in that. People that were here to put that together, to promote it, to advocate for it, to try and collect an amount of people that support these certain positions because they are hoping that we will be representatives to advocate for these things, to touch on these things, to cover them, to make sure they are not forgotten and not left out. And that's another part that we have to consider as well. So again, I would love to see a similar format like this where, again, we have the topics, you have the topic rep, and then at the end of each topic, there's an open window, right, where people can add things in case the topic rep missed something, or maybe just didn't cover something, or maybe they just want to add something in. And then you can have a section of, then you can have portions of the meeting where it is just kind of a pool-wide feedback where you just ask everyone their advice. Maybe the devs give us some information on what's coming up. Maybe they ask us for feedback on those things. And those could be more appropriate opportunities where you can have everyone give you feedback, even if it's at the same time, compared to right having that be just the standard format that you're going to operate with or within or how for every single topic and each kind of moment of conversation. I just don't think that's going to be the healthiest way to do that, where everyone, the community and the developers, are getting the most out of the meeting and most out of the opportunity. So that's my hope, right? And I just wanted to talk about that and share. Now, with that being said, I would really love to hear what you think, right? This is just my idea on what I think a good format, or at least one example of a format could be, but I would love to know, do you have an idea on what you think a format could be, right? Under the premise of there's, let's just say as an example, there's 20 there's 20 people that are from the company or in some capacity from different departments. They show up and maybe they bring in 20 or 30 people from the community, right? Some members and some community. Like, what do you think a good format would be that could make the most use of if, let's say we have a couple hours to meet, right? Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and maybe it's something we'll suggest. Like I said, I'm really open at this point to anything. My hope really is full-fold, wanting to try and, like I said, get the most out of the meeting that we can. And I think when we have specialists that are just very proficient in the areas of the game that they basically, for lack of a better word, specialize in, right? They really adhere to, and they're very involved in, right? I think those are perfect people to try and speak for the community, on their behalf, when it comes to whether it's balance, areas of improvement, changes that possibly could be made. Because at the end of the day, we're just giving feedback, right? But like I said, let me know in the comments down below. That is it for me. And then until next time, which hopefully might be March 20th or later, whenever we find out, we'll definitely give you guys another update and try and cover everything that we can throughout this process, because at least I, for one, and I hope others as well, are at least excited about the opportunity. Right, regardless of it goes, I'm happy that there's a chance to have a conversation, just have kind of an open dialogue. Okay, that's it. I'm out. Until next time, I'll catch you later.